So today I'm talking about paper kits and the printouts thereof. Got one here which I'm currently doing, and I'm going to come back to that in a moment. I'll start on these first. These are a couple I downloaded off the internet for free, and as you can see, they're rather well detailed. So first of all, I'll explain that this is how the printout looks. So you see here where the top here has this round edge here which needs folding down. So this is round, sort of like this. Looks like that from one corner, like that. So it's sort of like that. Sort of looks like that a little bit on the top of the pump, as you can see. And for that I had to use a piece of balsa wood and fold this around the edges of the balsa wood. Now the front here, I had to use a piece of plastic to as a backing for this printout, because as you can see it needs to be plastic, clear plastic, so that you can stick or glue the printout onto the back of the piece of plastic, so that it looks like it's got a little window in the petrol pump. But when you glue it to the plastic on the inside, glue around the corners, not right in the middle, because otherwise the glue will obscure the view. It has to be exactly the right width plastic. So for example, that is 1.3 centimeters, and so you will need to cut the plastic exactly the same width. In fact, probably a little tiny bit, say 0.5 millimeter less, because as you can see here, I cut it a little bit too wide, you see, on that one. And here is one that is cut to exactly the right size. That was the second one. And to glue both sides together, you will need to pack it with a piece of very thick cardboard cut to 1.3 centimeters wide, and obviously the same thickness as this piece here, this side piece. And what I did is I cut it off here, and I used this piece to glue this piece and this piece together. What I actually did with the balsa wood on top is I glued it to the inside of the clear plastic, and then folded this one over, and I sort of did this sort of thing. So this is the piece of plastic laying down with a window here, and then the top folds over like that with the balsa wood onto the piece of plastic which is here, and then this folds over here, and there's a piece of thick cardboard here, and then the balsa wood acts as a packing with the cardboard, so that you actually get that. And then the sides fold over like that, and then this piece which you've cut off glues onto this piece here. That was the way I did it. And of course, when you do the sides, which is these parts here, these are wrapped around a piece of thin balsa, which I've had to cut to the right size and shaped it around the top, because that folds around as well, you'll find. So the piece of balsa is that shape, and then just wrap it around, and that glued to the side will give it more strength because it's glued to the plastic here and the packing at the bottom and the balsa at the top. And obviously the actual nozzle itself is just a piece of paper folded over. I used a very, very sharp craft knife to cut that nozzle out, and this is one of my favourites. This is razor sharp, retractable for safety and replaceable, and it's not really a very complicated kit, but that's the way I did it. So now I'm going to go to the next stage, which is this one here. And I'm going to take a piece of card. Now I'm going to build this one differently. I'm going to need an extremely sharp pencil for this. Get it in exactly the right place. Need an extremely sharp pencil because I want to draw lines exactly where it needs to be folded, because when you see, the thing is, I see a lot of people glue the printout to the cardboard and then bend it round, so you've got this sort of thing. So sometimes, say this is a printout on here, for example, sometimes people glue the printout onto the card so it's like that, and then they try and bend it round with their fingers like that. Now, you know, that's not square. Sometimes people do that, but at the end of the day, that is just still round, and that's no good at all, because you don't have round corners, you have square corners. So sometimes I see people do this with the back of the craft knife and score it. So that makes it a little bit easier to bend, and that's okay, that's perfectly acceptable, because that is a little bit more squarer, and that's how it should be done. But you can't do that when you've got your printout already on the paper, okay? Because otherwise you'll damage the printout, and that's not what you want. And you can't score the back and put the printout on that side, because if you do, it just goes like that again, and of course you get the round corner again. Not quite as round, but still round. Let me try that again on this piece. So score the back like that, and instead of folding it that way, because we have now scored it on the back and the printout is this side, we fold it that way. And as you can see, it's still quite round, so that's no good. So this is how I do it when I'm doing it that way. I mean, most of the time I will build a paper kit like this, and I will glue individual pieces onto each separate part of the printout, and then when I've glued the backing piece onto it, I'll fold the leaves around without any card on the back, and that makes it a lot easier. And as you can see, this petrol pump is a really nice model, and I have a habit of moving the model away from the center of the camera. Sorry about that. Bottom is balsa wood. Balsa wood and plastic sheet is always the best for building these things, I reckon. Even if they are paper, they're still pretty good. So now I've marked all the parts out that I want. I've actually done that wrong, because I don't want that there, I want it there, like that. Okay, so that is there, like that. That one is there. Right, that's everything. So I now need to draw a line, score that there. And there's another one, score that one there. There's the side. And there's the other side. And there is the top. And I do believe I didn't mark out where the top went, so I will have to go and do that. There we are. Going to need to cut this out. Now we want this one up to here. This one up to here, and then this one up to here, and that is the whole of the part that we want. So that is exactly the right shape, and as I said before, okay, I never put cardboard on the leaves because they are just tags. So now I need to score, preferably with a ruler, to make it straight. I don't want to press too hard. I am using the sharp edge of the knife. I don't want to cut through it completely. Nice, gentle touch. Come on, move. That's it. And again, that one there. Finally, this one. That should now fold around like that, and the top as well should fold into a nice box. Petrol pump. Okay, so now I think it's time to fold the pump kit up as well. For that, I'm going to use a ruler. So I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to fold it around this way. Like that. Okay, that's it. Now then, now I need to glue it together. Okay, so I have a range of glues to help me. Got the good old Evo stick here, contact adhesive. Just in case I want something quick, I've got this 60-second Loctite, which is a cyanoacrylate, and the good old faithful Bostik all-purpose glue. So what I need to do first is press the nozzle. I normally press the nozzle right down onto the card and scrape it over, because I don't want thick globules of glue oozing out of the side. Just want a nice thin coat all over the piece of cardboard. And the most important thing to do now is to get it in the right place, and that means lining these up perfectly here, like that. Then we need to make sure the corners are all square before we join it together. Fold that around there. And fold the top over as well. And you've got to remember that the internal part, the piece of card, has to be slightly not quite as wide as the paper, because as you fold it round, the paper is going to shrink a little bit. And as you can see, it has actually shrunk quite a lot. Comes out all over the place. It really does make a mess, especially when you're dealing with paper models. Like I say, I've said it time and time again, and I'll say it again, all these pieces need separate pieces of card, but it is not as good as this one. That's the way I like to build them. Okay, so I've got some watercolours here, and I've mixed up a sort of a dark red colour. And that is just to fill in little pieces of white around the top. Second coat. First coat was dark colour, but not quite dark enough. That's it. There we are. So that's all do. I'm going to leave that to dry now. That one over there and on there. Come back to that later, because now I'm going to show you the way I build them properly. And here it is, the second one, and I have folded it all over perfectly. So those corners need folding first, exactly where it needs to be folded, right on those join lines. Pre-folded here as well, and there, all folded around ready. And on the back, as you can see, I have marked exactly where the score lines need to go, or the bend lines I should say, so that I know exactly where to paste my pieces of cardboard, which when you look very carefully is just slightly thinner than the printout. So when you put your next piece of cardboard on, oops, it fall down, very fiddly. You will see there it is slightly thinner, slightly less width than the cardboard. So when you bend it round, there's no shrinkage on the printout. You see what I mean? So all these pieces of cardboard are slightly less width than the printout. I'm going to glue them all on now. And here it is. And obviously you can see the gap between all the pieces of cardboard. That's how I like to make it, and I think that's how it should be made. As you can see on this piece, there is no tag just there, but there is a little bit of an overlap, and that is because when you fold that round there, you need to remember that this piece of cardboard has a certain thickness to it, so you need to allow for that there. You see how that folds around there and joins onto there, and there is still a little bit of white showing through, but not as much as there was in the old model. And I think we can actually alleviate that problem by putting a little bit of paint on now rather than later when the model is built. And then we've got to wait for that to dry. Okay, so where were we? There we go, painting the edges. So as you can see, all the edges have been done, and when you bend that together now, push that down there, push that onto there, and then close it up and hold it in the position you want for a few. This one compared to this one, it's a lot tidier. That's it, perfect. And they are both for you to decide which way you think is best. Anyway, it might be of some help. Here's another couple of models that I built, and these are shipping containers, and I made some extremely difficult measurements here. They had to be absolutely perfect. Print out over it and over the sides as well. You can just about see where the side folds around there on the corners, but it's okay, it's quite square.